Today I'm taking a look at a G Pro wireless Superlight that somebody tried to swap the switches themselves, but couldn't get it working. The right click just seems broken. Not sure exactly what's going on, but we're about to find out. So this is standard disassembly. That one screw was stripped, which is why I use the tweezers to get it out. The scroll wheel has a little tensioning spring that everyone just crushes under the scroll wheel when they replace it, so make sure to put that spring back on top of the scroll wheel, otherwise the wheel will not feel the same. Here's a little spring that people are crushing under the scroll wheel. I'll fix that later. Here's the PCB, time to see what's going on. The solder is missing from a few pins. One pin has a pad that's pulled, and there's a good amount of flux that looks charred or burned onto the PCB, and they are not all the way sitting in flush. So using my soldering iron, which is at 365 Celsius, just adding a little bit of solder to each of the pins just to try to see what's going on and to see if that helps anything. Pressing the PCB down on this roll of electric tape just to make sure that the switch is flush in the PCB, so it's pressed all the way in. And this little maneuver I'm doing here, where I'm putting the switch itself into the helping hands, heating up the solder and twisting the PCB just a little bit, is to just straighten the switch out. Sorry that it's blocked a little bit by my hands. So now that that's all done, putting a little bit of rubbing alcohol, scraping off a little bit of the burned flux and whatever else is on the PCB, and time to see what's going on with the switches. The middle pin on the right click has delaminated from the PCB, but it's still attached thankfully, so all I had to do is add solder and it works. If the pad was missing, it would have been a lot more annoying to sand down the PCB to get to a trace and then solder a wire from the switch to the trace, which is a little bit more extensive of a repair. So I learned here that the right switch itself is broken. It just doesn't latch, just presses in, but there's no actual click. So that switch is going to come out and a new switch is going to go in. Here I just put the actual clicks back in just to test and see how everything feels. It feels good. The person who sent this mouse to me, they wanted the scroll wheel to be less tactile. So here I'm lubing it with Krytox 205 grade 0. And then I also use a flathead screwdriver to bend the little metal piece that goes into the grooves on the scroll wheel encoder itself, and that helped more than lubing, but I think doing both was worth the effort. Feels really smooth now. This mouse actually had like one of the most tactile scroll wheels I've ever seen from Logitech. I think it's just the encoder. So lubing it and bending that little metal piece definitely helped smooth it out a little. And I'm just getting the little spring to hold the scroll wheel down so there's no rattle when shaking the mouse. I'm not sure really what else it does, but I want the mouse to be exactly the same way that it came from Logitech, so putting it back. Adding little squares of metal tape to the piece that actually clicks the switch just to get rid of a little bit of the pre-travel on the main two buttons. My stock G-Pro wireless Superlight has a little bit of pre-travel as well, so this just helps even it out. The reason that the ribbon cable is attached to the bottom PCB was because I was testing the switch PCB to make sure it worked, but the latch came out, so in order to not have to unlatch and relatch that, I got it latched down and I didn't want to mess with it anymore, so I'm just leaving it attached. Those ribbon cable clips are sometimes really fragile, which is really annoying, so that's something to keep in mind when disassembling. Now I'm just putting the mouse back together, everything is working, and thankfully it's all ready to go. That's pretty much it for this video. I was able to get this mouse back to life. If you've tried to solder something yourself and it didn't work out, feel free to get in touch. I'm happy to take a look. And if you want to avoid this whole thing, you can just send it to me in the first place. I'm happy to just swap the switches for you. If this helped you or you like this type of thing, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. Peace.